Newcastle 2, Wolves 1. Newcastle have been struggling in recent weeks after, brilliant period in the build-up to the World Cup, but back to winning ways without probably being at their very best today.
Yeah, but they're never going to be at their very best because off the back of the run that you're talking about, Nathan, affects kind of confidence. You lose your kind of rhythm, that kind of little bit of a belief that they had early in the season. You felt they got into a mindset early in the season where, ahead or behind, they just felt as if we're going to come back and win this game. You kind of, when things are going well for you. But when you start kind of dropping off a little bit in terms of performance levels, you get in a bad run, you start to doubt yourself a little bit. So that's exactly where they were coming into this game today. So if they were going to get a win, and I thought it was a must-win for them today in terms of their Champions League ambitions, just felt they had to beat this Wolves team today, particularly with the games they have coming up. Needed to find a little bit of a spark today. And I thought Isaac, to be fair to him, probably just provided it. Probably was the difference between the teams.
Eddie Howe made 5 changes from the game against Manchester City last week, including the full front three. So we brought Jacob Murphy in, brought Saint-Maximin in, brought Isaac in, and they more than justified their selection. Yeah,
but that's an indication as well. The amount of changes that he's made, he's kind of searching for something. He's not entirely happy with what he's saying. He's looking for kind of a winning formula, particularly high up the pitch. That front three. I didn't have Joe Lindsay today. He was out, and he's been a big player for them this season. But the form of Almiron has kind of dropped off since the early part of the season, where he was absolutely kind of phenomenal. So yeah, just feel as if he's searching a little bit. I think he's kind of quite happy in terms of the defensive unit. Kind of midfield three more or less kind of picks itself, but he's just looking for that bit of a cutting edge, a little bit of inspiration kind of high up the pitch in terms of his front three. And he's probably searching for that priority today, but probably after it, particularly with the substitution of Almiron. When he came on, I thought he gave them something as well, So yeah, they're in a good place, certainly in a better place now, in a better place in terms of their league standing after today, but I think mentally, psychologically, in a far better place.
Alexander Isak came in for a massive transfer fee from Real Sociedad. He's had a big struggle with injury. It hasn't hindered them because they got the other response managers want when you spend a lot of money. Your other striker steps up, and Callum Wilson was brilliant ahead of the World Cup. He's now having a massive dip. If you look at Isak's performance today, does he look like the man to lead Newcastle for the rest of this season and maybe even over the coming seasons?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the future. Wilson, I like, to be honest with you, but I think Isaac has a better all-rounded game. Saw a bit of that today. He looks a bit more comfortable when he has to drift into the kind of wider areas of the pitch. Callum Wilson's at his best when he confines himself kind of to the width of the penalty box and inside the penalty box. He's kind of a good finisher. But Isaac today, particularly first half, got played a little bit, a couple of times over the top down the left-hand side. Looked very comfortable there, getting on and driving at people in 1v1 situations in the box and looking to link up. So I think he is an upgrade on Callum Wilson. They need them both, don't get me wrong, between now and the end of the season. But yeah, I think Isaac's the future. Just needs a bit more game time, get himself up to match speed. Yeah, and he could still be a pivotal player for Newcastle between now and the end of the season.
They're right there now, Newcastle. They've games in hand and Tottenham above them and Manchester United, and they play Manchester United after the international break. Trying to predict this with Liverpool losing to Bournemouth yesterday. This is a huge opportunity for Newcastle with the inconsistency of Spurs and Liverpool to probably get to where they want to be a couple of seasons before they expected to be there.
Yeah, I think so. I think nobody was talking about in those terms prior to the start of the season, challenging for those Champions League positions. But sometimes a window of opportunity just presents itself. You could probably argue maybe similar to Leicester City under Brendan Rodgers a couple of years ago. A couple of teams above them stumbled, and there was an opportunity for them to grab one of those Champions League places. They didn't. They kind of seized up, tensed up a little bit the final 2 months of the season. There was 2 fifth-place finishes for them. So like I said, window of opportunity for them. They didn't take it. I think it's similar for Newcastle this season. We're waiting for one of those teams to put a run together, like 6-7 wins on the spin. Those teams in and around the fringes in the Champions League. It might be the case nobody does it. They all end up limping between now and the end of the season. But somebody's got to take those remaining last 2 Champions League places. 2 weeks ago, it was hand on hat. Really United probably had that third position. But you wouldn't be as comfortable, as confident now predicting that Manchester United are guaranteed one of those Champions League places. They're in a little bit of a difficult moment at the moment. We saw the suspension of Casemiro is not going to help them going forward. So yeah, grounds for optimism for Newcastle, and even the likes of Brighton might be thinking just going to hang around, just find some kind of run. 4 or 5 wins on the spin is going to propel us up towards those top 4 places.
Down the other end, then there's 9 teams in a relegation fight.
Oh, don't ask me to name them.
I won't ask you to name the 3, but if Wolves could have completed the comeback and won that game, it would have been huge. Moved them 6 points clear. From what you saw of Wolves today, like, it was scrappy. They don't offer a huge amount up front. They were lowest scores in the Premier League, sums that up. What do you feel about their performance and where they're going under Lopetegui?
Yeah. Couldn't look at that performance today, or generally how they performed all season, and say, oh, absolute given they're going to stay up. Still feel as if they've probably got enough interest. He went to a back three today when Nathan Collins came on. Just feel as if that might be the solution for them, maybe going forward between now and the end of the season. So it'd be good for Nathan Collins getting a bit of game time under his belt. I know they're struggling to score goals. Jimenez, absolutely, no confidence whatsoever, but there is some quality. And as if you're looking around the team thinking, well, they got nothing there. Like Neto made an impact today. Podence, Traore, got some good options really high up the pitch. Midfield, good quality footballers in there, hugely experienced team. Dawson's an experienced defender who's come in. So really, they tick a few boxes, particularly when you look at the teams in and around them. So still feel as if they'll be okay. Probably put Crystal Palace into that category as well. Probably would say both of them are safe, and then you're looking below that between them and the teams below.
Nathan Collins got 20 minutes at the end as part of a back three. He's obviously dropped out of the side over the last couple of months, and we're all wondering how worried as Ireland supporters and followers of Irish players in the Premier League we should be about that. It's going to be very difficult, unless they move to a back three, for him to get past Dawson or Kilman.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the experience of Dawson, and obviously Kilman got the armband today, so obviously that tells you the stand in which the manager holds him. So it's going to be a tough one for him. It's not ideal for him in terms of his development. Sure, he went there with Wolves, got into the team straight away, and you thought, happy days, this was great. Getting a lot of minutes, and that'll help him kind of sharpen up his game, particularly with the international games coming up in February. But it hasn't happened, is it? But I still think he's got enough money in the bank, certainly with the Irish manager. Every player is a little bit different. Some players really struggle, Nathan, in terms of being out of first team. Really lose a bit of rhythm to their game. I think kind of Nathan's kind of young enough. I think his game is kind of sharp enough. I think he can cope with the amount of time that he spent out of the Wolves team. I still expect him to come into the Ireland team. I expect him to play against France, and I expect a performance for him. You know what I mean? He's had a great, stellar start really to his Irish career. So I think we'll need him, to be honest with you. We need him to turn up in Dublin in a couple of weeks' time and put in the type of performance that we used to seeing from him in a short period of time in an Ireland jersey. He's going to be important for us.
Good news today as well that Gavin Bazunu had a clean sheet against Manchester United, which should be a nice little confidence boost for him. So we're 2 weeks away now from France. Looking at the Irish team and Stephen Kenny, what he might try and do in that game, it probably feels to me maybe there's 8 nailed on selections. You can shake your head and disagree if you want, but Bazunu in goal, the back three of Collins, Egan, O'Shea, the midfield three of Cullen, Malumbi and Knight, and then Evan Ferguson would start up front. So you have your right-sided player, your left-sided player, and somebody to play up top alongside Ferguson. Firstly, you're nodding along, which is a real rarity.
No, I agree with you. I don't think you're too far off. I think there might be an argument for Seamus Combs again, a lot of kind of game time.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask, because we did Everton last week, and we probably saw him in the opposition box, which was maybe the most interesting thing, more than we've seen him in recent times. Was excellent again for Everton yesterday as they kept a clean sheet. So that feeds into some of the selections he has to make. Matt Doherty's not playing for Atletico Madrid, got a couple of minutes last week. Does he play Doherty at right wing back? Is Coleman able to play as a right wing back now, or is his spot only as part of a back three?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think probably he was asked Seamus where he'd like to play in this sort of setup at the moment, at this stage of his career. Probably say right of a central three, but I don't think that's going to happen. I wouldn't see the likes of Nathan Collins or Darragh O'Shea necessarily kind of stepping down. So I think you're right. If he's going to play, it's going to be as a right wing back. Is he going to be that kind of marauding, overlapping kind of right wing back? Has he got the energy levels that he had, say, 10 years ago? No, he doesn't. Maybe Stephen might be looking for that against this kind of French team with Seamus' experience and his defensive qualities. Even in a right kind of wing-back position, he might lean towards Seamus for this particular game.
So play 5 at the back, basically.
But just he can still get forward and still be encouraged to get forward. But I think he knows against France, we're going to get penned down. They're going to take the ball off us. They're going to have to defend for significant periods of that game. And Seamus is a very experienced operator, whether it's in a playing right back in an orthodox 4 or a right wing back in a five, he's still going to have to defend that area of the pitch. So he's someone who you'd want really in the trenches with you. Not so much in the trenches, I'm talking about last ditch tackles and stuff like that, but someone to keep a clear head to make good decisions from a defensive point of view. So I think Shames to be pushing actually for the starting place. But you're right, could flip Matt into the left wing back position. Don't think anybody's nailed down that position, Nathan, in that area of the pitch. And you're right, that central striker is going to be very important. I think Everson Ferguson will play. I think everybody's in agreement on that, despite his relative inexperience, the quality he's shown. I think the man's that he has to play. It's just it'd be interesting to see who the manager sees, who's the best foil for him in this particular game. Going to have to play a counter-attacking game, I think, against France. So you're looking for players up front who've got real kind of pace, who can kind of play over the top and get you in behind quickly on the counter-attack. So maybe you're looking at the likes of probably Obafemi, maybe gets the nod ahead of maybe Adam Ida, and kind of try Parrott from that point of view.
Because it is hard to tell from what we've seen from him at club level as to what would work at international level. Sometimes he sort of plays up top by himself with two real attacking midfielders just off him. Sometimes they play Danny Welbeck in the cup game against Liverpool. They played Danny Welbeck up alongside him. It didn't seem to particularly work. So the way Ireland play is very, very different from the way Brighton play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think he'll be fine because of the all-round game that he has. I think he can play in any one. I wouldn't look at Evan Ferguson. He can only play in one particular system. You're right. I think he can play as a lone central striker. He's kind of got the present physicality. He can play with his kind of back to goal and kind of link things up. I think he'd be more than comfortable playing with somebody alongside him. I think genuine, you ask any kind of central striker, would you rather playing your own up there, have someone alongside you? 9 times out of 10, yeah, I'd love somebody with me, to share the load a little bit, somebody in contact with me, can work a few little kind of combinations, we can kind of play off each other. I think Ferguson's capable of dropping in and linking things up as well. Technically he's very good, so then you're looking for somebody maybe to spin in behind that bit of an injection of pace. That's why I come back to Obafemi again. I mean, Adam Ida is no slouch, don't get me wrong, but just feel as if might lean towards that kind of parent, that explosive pace of Obafemi. Doesn't lack in confidence either. You wouldn't imagine he's going to be overawed by the occasion. You feel as if he'd really kind of fancy his chances. Very kind of explosive player, capable of moments of magic we've seen already in an Ireland jersey. So yeah, I think you're right, Nathan. Probably 2 or 3 max at those places up for grabs.
Great stuff, Kenny.